AI doesn't have the life experience that you as a business owner have. And so it's really important not to delegate 100% of your thinking to AI. With AI slop everywhere in every facet of business, it puts more pressure on us humans to be excellent. The brain and thinking is like a muscle. If you don't train it, if you don't use it, you'll become dumber.
What one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today? Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show. I'm your host, Ethan Cassiotis, and today I have a powerful guest. His name is Francis Rodino, and he is an AI growth architect, digital marketing strategist, and the best-selling author of Leads Machine, which was shortlisted for the Business Book Awards in 2026. And with more than 20 years of experience in digital marketing and campaigns for brands, including the BBC and PlayStation, he now helps service businesses build predictable sales systems using CRM automation and AI. And through his R.E.D method, Francis has helped more than 300 businesses recover over 128 million pounds in revenue by improving lead management, follow-up, and forecasting. And he shares practical insights on using AI and automation to create scalable, repeatable growth without relying on more leads. Welcome, Francis, and thank you for being on the Business Growth Show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome, mate. I'm sure it's going to be very impactful for everyone watching and listening today. And you are a successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please, introduce yourself by telling us a little bit more about you and your journey.
Well, I mean, in a nutshell, came out of a corporate career, about 25 years working for big brands in the UK. Cut my chops on NatWest's first online banking platform. Jamie Oliver, the chef, his first online commerce website. Uh, Web solutions. Did a stint at BBC, AOL, when they were still something. So that tells you a little bit how old I am. But actually, where I really grew to make an impact and enjoy what I do much more is when I started my business in 2018, helping small businesses, SMEs, grow and scale online, bringing some bigger brand global campaign thinking to the mindset of small owners. And with the tech that's now available, is cheaper than ever, more accessible than ever, anyone can build big systems if they just have the know-how. And so with leadhero.ai, that's what we do is we help small, medium-sized businesses grow and scale and take the heavy lifting off the owners, really, so that tech can start nurturing, chasing, following up, helping and enabling the sales process. So that's really the transition was from a corporate to entrepreneur. And yeah, so now that business has taken us, we've been going for about, what, 8 years now? Primarily focused on HighLevel, the CRM, high-level experts. We're certified, we're award-winning high-level agency, and it's just been great to be part of that community and working with businesses around the world. So that's what we do right now.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love the story, and great that you're I think it's more beneficial, right, when you can help the small medium business owners because you're working with the business owners. It feels more impactful. Well, that's what I found as well compared to working with some of the big guys, and you being able to put that into businesses, which I think is extremely powerful for what you're doing.
Yeah, it's really different in the sense that, when you're working with big established brands and agencies, it's a great place to learn the trade, so to speak, what makes marketing work and working with different teams and different skill sets. Usually you have bigger teams, more people, right? And more stakeholders and boardrooms and more moving parts. But with smaller businesses, really, things happen a lot faster. Decisions are made quicker. Um, when you're working direct with the business owner or the senior level management of a team, I feel like we can really make an impact in not just in their business, but in the lives of the small business owners, helping them grow and scale, dispel the myths, avoid pitfalls. And when I just love it when we have a case study that says, look, we grew this company by 25% in 4 months because we were involved in the growth strategy. It's just really rewarding. And, that's what we're focused on right now.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Really, really great stuff for what you guys are doing. And yeah, I think there's a big myth here, right, with businesses where it's just like, I want more leads, right? But that's not necessarily the solution, right? I know you talk about why chasing more leads can kill, service business growth. So tell us more about this.
Well, I don't know about kill, but certainly I would say that most established business, if you've been in business for a while and you're successful, it's because you've been doing some things right consistently, and you probably have leads. In fact, you're probably sitting on a gold mine of leads and contacts and opportunities. And most of the time, businesses are not taking advantage of what they've got, right? And they're always seeking out new ways to generate leads. And it's important to generate leads, but a lot of businesses already have lead flow, especially if you have a good website, you have SEOs, you have referrals, and leads are coming in. Maybe you're already doing some advertising. And it's not always a case of just spending more money on ads and dialing up that notch. Um, we more often than not we see unleveraged CRM, messy setups, gaps in the sales process. They're not using automation. They're not using AI. It's still a bit old school, even though we have all of these tools and softwares and methods at our disposal. Because to be honest, putting it all together in a way that does generate the result sounds simple, but it's not easy. And it does require, having a good look at the sales process, at the full customer journey, how leads are coming into the business, what happens next when they're contacted, when they're followed up and nurtured. And more often than not, that work really hasn't been done to to any systematic standard. And so that's why I wrote the book Leads Machine for anybody who's watching this on YouTube. This is the book Leads Machine, and that's what really inspired me to write the book. Is it sounds easy to just go onto Facebook or Google and put your credit card there and generate some leads, but actually there is a potentially, I'd like to suggest that there's some deep work that we can all do to hone in on our ideal client profile, really understand them better, to know what makes them tick, what their deepest desires, goals, ambitions are, what they really want out of life and business, on a not just a business level, on a personal level. What frustrates them, what keeps them up at night, sweat in sweats. What do they think about every day? What keeps them ruminating? And when we can really articulate what our clients are feeling on a human level, right? That's the marketing gold. That's where things start to resonate, and then your marketing has a chance of standing out amidst this red ocean of advertising that we see. And then taking those feelings and turning them into messages, right? And we have frameworks in the book of how to turn those into a value proposition, a unique mechanism that is essentially the label of how you do what you do for people that is different to others, and then turning it all into a customer journey in a methodic way where it's not random, where you can say, this is my customer journey. This is how people find out about me, then learn about what I do, then express some interest in what I do, then take action, then buy something, become a client, stay a client, and then refer you. And so if you can just plan that all out first, and then create this revenue engine, as we call it. It's not just the CRM, but it's what you put inside it and how you make it work. It's the technology you use. It's the cadences and workflows that are set up to put those messages out to the right person at the right time in the right channel, wherever they come into you, and then convert those into clients and give you the data on what's working, what's not working, and you as a CEO or a business owner know how to interpret it, and you can see it there clearly. Well, that's powerful stuff, and that's a robust engine. And then when you have that, put fuel to the fire, pedal to the metal, drive the car forward with ads, reach more people, resell, and then refine the system over time. I call that as you mentioned, R.E.D. It stands for the RED method: roadmap, engine, and drive, right? So we use that kind of race car metaphor throughout the book just to make it easier for people to understand. It's not all about just jumping in to marketing. And I wrote the book also to help business owners make better decisions when either doing marketing themselves or hiring consultants or marketing to do it for you. Because not all providers are equal. There are different ways of providing a service, and let's be honest, not, well, let's be very honest, marketing doesn't necessarily work on day one or month one. It requires iteration, testing, thinking. And so there's a process and a journey that I'd like to take people through. Hold your hand, come with me, come on this marketing system journey, and let's put in place, or let's turn your business into a leads machine so that you have some sales certainty for the future.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for taking us through the R.E.D or RED method. There, roadmap, engine, drive. I love it, and yeah, I think you've really spelled out something that a lot of people don't realize. And it's funny, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I just put things into AI and it just tells me to do stuff. It's like if you don't know the right question to ask and how to make the right decisions, then you're not going to get the best answers. And I think so. It's great that you've created this book, right? Because you've got the framework there going. This is what you guys need to think about, whether you do it internally, whether you go to an external provider like yourself, right, to get the help, I think is really important. So I love it. Let's just talk a little bit about HighLevel now, right? And I know that the co-founder and CEO Sean Clark, as you know him very well. He's endorsed you, and I've interviewed him on the show as well as the other two co-founders. I think it's an amazing platform, and I think a lot of people don't realize exactly the power of HighLevel and I guess the differences with maybe some of the other CRMs and things out there. So you want to maybe just highlight what the benefits of what they've created and what they keep building on.
Yeah, HighLevel is a unique platform. I I used to call it a CRM, but I've really learned that it's not so much a CRM as it is a marketing toolkit. Because the CRMs, traditional enterprise level CRMs, traditionally like Salesforce, HubSpot, they're deeper and they contain a more complex data structure in which different facets of the organization can access and manipulate that data, right? From operations, finance, sales, different functions have that data accessible via different formats. And that's the traditional CRM that businesses of a certain size will ver will will need to enable the cross function of teams and accessibility to data. High level is essentially a front end to a CRM. It's a marketing front end. It's a very powerful marketing front end. It's designed It was initially designed for agencies and consultants to better serve their clients. And in that way, it was designed to be the all-in-one, say, let's call it a Swiss Army knife, that you, as a marketing expert, could call upon to make a lot of different things happen in a business when it comes to marketing and sales, where before you had to have multiple software subscriptions to create, say, your typical client attraction or a sales funnel, or a webinar funnel or a masterclass funnel or calendar funnel. You needed Calendly, Zapier, a CRM, an email software, maybe a text messaging software. So you needed all of these different tools. And the guys at HighLevel, they were very clever. They realized that this essentially was a problem, making it more expensive and complex for agencies to deploy on behalf of clients. And so they invented essentially a dashboard that bypassed all of these different softwares, recreated software within a software, to make it easier to deploy, duplicate, and install these systems. So it's a powerful tool in the sense that as a marketing strategist or an agency, it can serve thousands of use cases and niches, depending pretty much. I don't really see a business that couldn't benefit from some or multiple features that HighLevel offers. Anywhere from email marketing, social media management, WhatsApp integration, SMS, what else? Workflows. Now they have AI agents and voice AI. So all of this happens within HighLevel for a $97 account if you're like one or two businesses. And then if you're an agency and you service multiple clients, it costs a little bit more. But it's primarily an agency tool. And that is a little bit where there's a blur between its capability and its complexity, because a lot of solopreneurs or founders or business owners hear about its capability in the best case scenario, and they thought, oh, I'll get me some of that, and it only costs $97. And then they end up with a HighLevel account that's empty and don't really know how to make it work. What do I do with it? And now I've got HighLevel, and it's not, the misconception is HighLevel is the thing, HighLevel is the outcome, right? No, HighLevel is the drill. It's a powerful drill that can has a lot of bits to it, but you, as the marketing strategist, have to know what it is that you're building and how to build it. You're the one that's going to paint the Picasso and put it on the wall for everyone to see. And you'll use a variety of tools, paints, paint brushes, nails, whatever it is, to create that outcome. And so that I feel, we get a lot of businesses coming our way that don't really understand how to implement HighLevel. They got an account or they've been given an account more often by an agency or a consultant that doesn't really do anything and doesn't produce the outcome. And the outcome that businesses want is they want more leads, more sales, more profit, and more time. But in order to create that, well, you need a marketing strategy. You need lead generation. You need follow-up. You need copywriting. You need to be clever and human about how you're engaging with people. You need to choose your methods of communication. You need to have a good understanding of your ICP and when to contact them and how to integrate all of that into a marketing strategy, and then have a sales team or person that knows how to actually engage with those people and sell. So HighLevel is a great tool. It's a link in the chain of your marketing and sales system.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And I think that really just highlights, right, that yeah, if you don't have a system mind or like that, or you're not a marketing person or you're not a consultant, then just don't expect to just get the tool, right? You got to get the right help, like anything. It's you could try for years trying to work it out, or you find someone that knows what they're doing and it will happen in months, right? Where you can get a result with the people like yourself that know what they're doing. So I love that. Um, I think that the bit at the start, I think, is that where a lot of people fall down, right? In your process, there is the roadmap side, right? Where they're going, how do they understand that, ICP, I do customer profile, what's the message they're putting out, and mapping the customer journey, I think, very so important, right? A lot of people don't realize, like, what's the whole journey that people are going on, and then how do I build things around that? So, do you want to maybe talk about like maybe it's a client or some key areas of what you see when you're working with people of like what are some key areas of that art and science of marketing that you do at the start there that really sets up the foundation for success.
Well, I think it is primarily those three, we call them accelerators in the book: market intelligence, messaging, and the customer journey map. And I very rarely see or come across businesses that have done this work and actually documented who is their ICP, ideal client profile. What are their marketing messages written down? And I never see a customer journey. We talk about it all the time, and it makes sense when you practically, but I very, very rarely, I can't think of one example where I've actually worked with a business or come across a business and they already had this done, right? And by customer journey map, I mean, can you visualize from beginning to end exactly how someone is going to find your business, how they feel, at that stage, what the touch points are, meaning where did they find out about you? In what way? Was it a LinkedIn? Was it Instagram? Was it through email or was it through an event? And then what are we going to do to actually get them to take that next step to the next stage? And at every stage of that customer journey, there are going to be different feelings as they ultimately get to know, like, and trust you, and then decide that you are the most desirable choice to work with, right? And now we have great tools to help put that all together. Obviously, we can use AI, but AI will never know what's in your head. AI doesn't have the life experience that you, as a business owner, entrepreneur, someone who works with people, have. And so it's really important. It's important not to delegate 100% of your thinking to AI and just like put it into Claude or ChatGPT and use that output, right? It's really important, I think, that to think about to put your own self in the shoes of your customer and also ask them questions, right? If you have friendly clients and customers, get them on a call and ask them these questions. In my book, I actually have worksheets around all of this, and with all of the questions outlined, so you can create your own and get a client on the call and just ask them these because that's the real gold. Because when you can relate to people where they come from, then there's a relationship to be had, right? And that just kind of makes everything a bit more straightforward and systematic. So you have a plan, you have a system, and then you can execute that system. So yeah, that's the customer journey work. We do that. We do those things. We have a product called Scale Map, which is actually just the customer journey part of the whole system. And we find that clients really love that because for the first time, they now have clarity as to what they're going to say, what they're going to do, the assets that they need to build that serve a purpose at every point to drive that customer down that sales funnel.
Yeah, I love it, mate. So true. The customer journey part. I love that you've created all these tools that make it simple for people, and I love that you've got the resources as well in the book, right? There for people if they want to give it a go. But you guys are the experts that are building it out for people, and I think there's a lot of value in external people, right? Like I work with a lot of clients as well, and I know you do, and it's like because sometimes when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to sort of see it, right? Whereas when you get somebody externally that understands a process, they can pull things out of you, right? And going, okay, ask the right questions that you're not necessarily asking yourself at that particular time. So I think that external process
Absolutely.
is yeah, so important. Let's talk a little bit around, okay, we're getting it into the system, we're getting leads, right? But maybe there isn't a good follow-up sequence here. Obviously, AI can be built into this, like you were talking about, and everything like that there of how we follow up people and move them along that journey. So you want to talk just a little bit more around, I guess, what you see are some of the problems and some of these solutions, that are out there now that are really changing the game to increase, the profit and what business owners want.
What are some of the problems and solutions? Can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, so think about it when you're getting many new clients, right? The way that
Hmm.
they're currently managing leads is not very good, right? And everything like that there. And then so you're building, these automated sequences, you're building AI within the process to really maximize those leads. Yeah, there in that way. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you do that there so that people know like the potential of what you can actually do with that?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that makes clear. Well, here's the thing is at any given moment, it's really only 3% of the market which is perhaps ready to buy from you. And that's what everyone is kind of chasing online in advertising is people who are ready to buy, they're problem aware. But the reality is that 67% of people um, would make good buyers for you in the future, but they're just not ready yet. So 7% are intending to change, 30% they're not in enough pain yet, and 30% don't even have a need at the moment, right? And so what are we going to do with all? Are we just going to keep on fishing in a red ocean for those 3% of active buyers, or are we going to build relationships for the long term and help people in that change? And so that's where the real opportunity is. The solution isn't really more leads. And so I think with what we do, we recognize now in the age of AI and automation, speed is a real competitive advantage. So, in enabling speed to lead, speed to value, the faster you can create value and give value to people gives you a competitive advantage. So, I have a really good example, actually, or an example of how a traditional, say, imagine a boiler business. There was this boiler business in the UK, for example, called Boxed, and they completely disrupted the market by making a traditional slow sales process just faster and more efficient. So, initially for a trades business, uh, it's initial contact, an inquiry is made, they wait for a call back, then you have to schedule a home survey, the survey visits, and you do an assessment and review. Then you have the quoting and proposal, then you wait for the quote, and then you have to chase the quote, wait for a decision. The person's comparing quotes because they go talk to different businesses online. You have negotiation and chasing. And finally, weeks later, if at best, you've got an installation and you've got cash in the bank. And so what they do is they essentially collapsed a 2-week multi-step, very human-led process into a fast self-serve digital journey. And that's actually how we solve the problem in answer to your question. So, what took 2 weeks can take a couple of minutes. Online quote, no home visit required. You can offer fixed pricing through e-commerce, no negotiation. You just have a quick checkout. You can book your installation instantly and then enable next day delivery. And what's important about this case study is 100% self-service. So they took a traditional industry and just made what was already happening more seamless and faster, right? They went from nothing to number two in the UK in 12 months, 18 million pounds in year one. And by year three, they were with 26 million. That's around like nearly $35 million in 3 years. And they were just in an industry. They didn't change their industry, but they also changed the expectation of buyers, right? So customers now expect instant quotes, if you can, fix pricing, next day installation. So they did it, and while they also had, competitors in the market like British Gas. So we operate in the UK. This is a UK case study. So that's just an example of how speed to lead and creating a more seamless, automated sales process can really give you a competitive edge. And that's what we do. And so knowing how to implement that with high level for businesses, you can do it all. You just it needs to be joined up. So with high level, for example, workflows that contact businesses within 60 seconds, photo upload systems, so you can facilitate, getting real world physical images of the environment that you are going to install or service, chasing leads, nurturing, giving information, quizzes, surveys, forms, all of that can be automated within high level and put together as a system. So that's essentially, how we use the tech to solve the sales process problem.
Yeah, awesome, man. I love that. What a great example. And collapsing 2 weeks into minutes, right, and everything like that. And yeah, I know that the stat is definitely the quicker you move someone through a sales process, the higher chance of conversion, right? So now there's no
Mhm.
excuses really, right? We've got the tool, we've got high level. You just need the right people like yourself to be able to get that process and make it happen, right? Implement it if you can't do it yourself. And then and then maximize it, as much as possible there, like you said. So I love that. Um, but as we're starting to get a bit closer towards the end, I think one key thing that I think is really important as we grow is having dashboards, right, in what we do, and having like key metrics in the business that we're managing. There to know, like, are we on the right track? How are we going there? So I know you can build dashboards in high level as well. So what do you think is important when you're working with clients and some of these, key metrics of what you're looking for to really know that you're on the right track and you're improving over time?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you're going to want to know your cost per acquisition, down to the dollar, or penny if you can. So it all comes down to cost per acquisition, but it depends on who you are. Different roles in the business are going to look at different metrics. But overall, your marketing budget, your cost per lead, so how much does it acquire you to to acquire a lead from the internet, and all of these can be measured. Your cost per booking, so turning that lead into a booked call, a sales call, a discovery call, right? And then ultimately, when they become a client, when and if they become a client, your cost per acquisition. Those are the metrics that the owner will want to know. And it's really important to make sure that all of these sources are tracked properly. So the phone calls coming into your business, the form attributions. If you have ads, you're running Google ads and Facebook ads, you can use UTM parameters to make sure that you're tracking everything you do. Because I think, to your point, why are the dashboards important is because without them, you're flying blind. You're really just guessing. Like, even if you're getting good results, from a marketing campaign, what is good, right? What is good? I guess if you're put ultimately, you should be getting more money than you put out, but could that be better, right? And what does better mean for your business? Every business is going to have a a number. And I think that what every owner, this concept is kind of new to people that haven't advertised is how much are you able to pay for a client? How much would you pay for a new client? Would it be $100? Would it be $1,000 or $5,000? And depending on your customer lifetime value, that will change. But I find it really interesting when I have conversations with business owners who are fairly well established, but they've never looked at customer acquisition in terms of paying for customers. They just think, oh, well, I get customers through referrals, organic, or even if they're spending, they don't really see it as I'm paying to acquire a customer. I mean, we're always paying. I don't think any customer is free. You're paying in some way, whether it's real money or it's a sponsorship or a partnership or it's time that you've spent developing a relationship and your time costs. I'm sure that if you look at all of your business, you can put a value on every customer's and having clarity on that because sometimes you might think that investing into marketing and ads is expensive, yet did it produce X amount of clients that you wanted that year? So, um, Google, Facebook, it's pay to play. Those with deeper pockets will have more brand visibility, and in many cases, more customers. So, having a view on what you want, what you would pay to acquire a customer, and then having the numbers that align around that goal. And if ultimately your cost per lead and cost per acquisition is matches that or is less than that, you're doing well.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. So true. I always talk about this with my clients as well. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets improved. And until we know the
Hmm.
number, we can't improve it, right? As well there. So what you're building is really so important, mate. And mate, so much gold that you've shared with us here today. And as we're starting to wrap up, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
Well, I think I touched on it earlier, and I'm fascinated on how AI is changing potentially humanity right now. And I think the goal, we are inundated by AI slop everywhere, right? It used to be, it used to be a novelty, and then everyone's doing it. And what does that mean is that the barrier to entry to marketing and putting yourself out there and branding, it's lower and lower and lower because everyone is doing it now. Everybody thinks they're a copywriter. They can automate it, and we're just inundated with AI images, AI copy, and slop everywhere. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting just really numb to it all. Like every time I see it in ads, it's just like it's just ignored, right? And I think we've seen this kind of bell curve, right? Where, oh wow, we can now be a copywriter and do lots of content and stand out. But actually, we're starting now to really notice people that do a bit of extra thinking and come back to their humanity at the end of the day. I think that our ethos at Lead Hero AI, even though we use tools and we use AI, and all businesses do and will continue to, the key is not to replace humans with AI. It's actually to be AI enabled and do human-led marketing. So putting yourself out there like we're doing today and having a long form conversation, like AI cannot replicate this conversation. It can, warts and all, podcasts, You know, write your own copy, do your own thinking. Don't aim for perfection because humans are not perfect, right? And perfection is sometimes sterile and cold. And so you lose that emotion in whatever you do. So I would say the advice is don't delegate your thinking, even though it's very tempting to get Claude and ChatGPT to just think of stuff for you. Don't replace your own thinking with AI because you will become dumber, right? And ultimately that will not serve you. Is the brain and thinking is like a muscle. If you don't train it, if you don't do it, you don't use it, you'll become dumber. And I think now with AI slop everywhere in every facet of business, it actually it puts more pressure on us humans, entrepreneurs, consultants to be excellent, right? Because now if AI can solve more difficult problems, we now have to solve really big problems and use our brains and do the stuff that and think the thoughts that AI can't think of, right? So that's essentially the advice and thought of the day.
Yeah, I love it. So true. It's and it's only as good as what you put in, right, to the AI as well. So, if you're not thinking the right way and asking it the right questions, that you're not going to get good results, and then not realizing you're getting out of that and adjusting it right from there. So it's a whole
I mean,
process.
how many times have you spent hours trying to get that right email or post on Claude or something like that, where actually everything you do and everything you prompt, it just doesn't come out the way you want, right? And sometimes it does, but a lot of the times it doesn't. And I've actually noticed that recently, because I do, very very intricate prompts as well, and you put the context in there. And yes, it can crunch maybe 75% of the data, but more often than not, the output it just doesn't hit that quality that I would want people to consume, right? So I have to go in there and make it my own. So that's just something to think about, which is just, it kind of is what it is. Don't become AI slop yourself. That's
Yeah, I agree, and this is why I always say to my clients and business owners, entrepreneurs out there, is you got to know a decent amount about every level of the business, because you got to know, is what you're getting from AI correct, right? Or when you're working with partners, whether they're agencies, implement, systems partners, are they doing the right thing? Are you asking the right questions to know that they actually know what they're doing? So it's like, I was using it with a complex. I was doing some complex financial modeling, and I did most of it myself. But I was like, oh, this part, it'll just be easy if I put into the AI. I had to keep asking it. I reckon I had to do 10 renditions of this spreadsheet to get it to the way that I knew that it was correct. Whereas someone that didn't
Mhm.
know what they were doing would have got the first version and assumed it was correct when it actually
Yeah.
wasn't. So
Hmm.
that's in anything, right? That you do. So this is why, yeah, know your craft, learn it yourself, or know enough that you can work with, trusted people like us here in our own fields that, can help you on that journey. So I think it was a great point on AI, and bring that human element, bring that emotion right into it. That's going to connect with people in that way, mate. And mate, we connected through our network. So I learned about your awesome journey with your various marketing, roles and businesses, to now being the founder of Lead Hero AI, mate. Awesome guy, so knowledgeable. And I think you've really stepped out the simple way of how it works, right? In a whole marketing process to really maximize that in a business. In your book as well, goes even deeper on that, which I highly recommend people get. Even just for the awareness, right? Like, of the knowledge that we're talking about here that you should have, and then maybe getting someone like yourself to help implement it as well, mate. So, mate, you're an awesome guy, and I'm sure you continue to help, service businesses build predictable sales systems using CRM automation and AI. I'm very grateful we connect and look forward to partnering as well. So,
Thanks, Anthony.
you're welcome, mate. And so Francis, how can people find you and get in touch with you as well?
Well, my book is available on Amazon, so I'm pretty much sure that anyone who has an Amazon account can buy it. You can check me out on francisrodino.com, if you're interested in anything we talked about in terms of our AI automation, high level setups and growth systems, check out leadhero.ai. We have a free revenue growth scorecard there where we use AI to analyze your business and ask you a few questions, and we'll give you a free report on how you can actually make more profit and diagnose some of the leaks in your sales process. And yeah, schedule a call. You can do that from the website at leadhero.ai. And really excited to have a chat.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Definitely check it out. Check out the book. I just bought it myself on Amazon. It'll be here in a couple of days. The personal brand website, the business website, all those tools that, yeah, Francis has been providing. Mate, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. Thanks for being on the Business Growth Show.
Thank you so much. Have an amazing day.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Ethan Cassiotis, or visit my website, ethancassiotis.com. And if you want to grow and scale your business, you'd reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. So until next time, remember that our business grows where we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So let's create wealth and freedom together.